Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 16th day post tax day in April. Got a great show with you for tonight. Going to talk about this college football thing with Nico. I'll just keep his name as Nico, the college former University of Tennessee quarterback. A lot of former NFL players. It's got a buzz around the media with the NFL media, the college media. It's really taken over the last 5 days or so, about a week or so. Story here. Also want to talk about Shedeur Sanders falling. I'm not sure how far he will fall, about the ups and downs, the pros and cons of him as well. And I've got Coach Kevin Carroll coming back to the program to get his take on this and what does he thinks, what's to go now forward with Tennessee. Plus, we'll talk about his thoughts on Cam Ward. We are 8 days away from the NFL draft. Really came up on us fast this year. So stand by. We'll take our first only break, and we will be back here shortly, and we will hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports. Thanks.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows, giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
All righty then, I'm back here live. Okay, let's start from the top here. So, I like to call the guy Nico. It's Elamalava or whatever the last name is. Practically a week ago, rumblings came out of Tennessee that he was wanting more NIL money from the university, currently paying him about $2.4 million, wanting $4 million. That was around, I want to say last Thursday per se. Then it came out that he had wanted, that he did not show up to practice last Friday, per se. All right. And so he doesn't show up to practice last Friday. Saturday, things moved quickly. Josh Heupel came out and said that he was just, they decided to go in a different direction. They just didn't want to put up with this. Okay, so here's his numbers, last, and then immediately this is after 13 games. And let me say this: I'm a little surprised at the level. Now, there's some naysayers out there, but it's very few at the level of support that the program got. It's usually the NFL former or the sports media, whether it be former players and whatnot. They would normally take the side of the player, but overwhelmingly, I'd say 90% here. Other than Colin Cowherd, now he likes to be a contrarian and saying, well, the Tulane quarterback that went to Duke got $4 million, and he's trying to be somewhat of a contrarian and whatnot. But majority, and like I said, I'm pleasantly surprised about that Tennessee actually looks good in here by standing their ground. But here's his numbers. 201 passing yards a game. That's 76th in the nation. This is through 13 games. This guy's just a sophomore, His first year starting, 63% completion percentage. That's 43rd nationally. 19 passing touchdowns. That's 42nd nationally. 70.5 QBR. That's 36th nationally. This is from College Football Report off of the X-App here. And wants an NIL deal of $4 million. Okay. And this is a classic case of the family. And I'm hearing and reading that it's mainly his dad trying to get just pulling at him, getting in his head to get him to demand more money out of Tennessee when he was making $2.4 million. Then over the weekend, you started to see teams like North Carolina come into play, potentially USC, UCLA, and then Tulane. And then all of a sudden you're reading that all these schools are backing out except for UCLA. Now, he ultimately signed with UCLA today, but UNC, Tulane backed out. USC apparently was never in it as much as we thought. And I thought, well, Lincoln Riley, okay. Lincoln Riley, maybe that would be an upgrade from Heupel to Lincoln Riley, considering Lincoln Riley's at USC's track record, working with number 1 overall picks, his Heisman Trophy winners. That was not the case. So you see all that. And then after 4 days of this, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then Monday, today's Wednesday, then Monday you start to hear rumblings about, well, it wasn't about the NIL deal. It was more about the fact that he didn't like Josh Heupel's offense. He did not like Josh Heupel's offense. He wanted it to be more of a passing offense for him to develop more as a NFL-style quarterback, per se. And I just think that's saving face because he's getting such a bad rap. Oregon was out on him. The Oregon coach said he was snooping around while under the contract with Tennessee, see if they would pay more money. And what's his name? Lanning wasn't budget per se. They didn't budge on the guy. Part of me feels bad for him because I think it's his family. The people who's not, and a lot of them take him to practice, but they're not icing down every day after practice. They're not the ones that's got to put them shoulder pads on. They're not the ones that's doing this kind of running, doing sweating in all those pads day in and day out. But they're the ones that want this handout, basically, is what it was. And it's just a classic case of it. And also my thoughts are, with those numbers I just read you, I would have a different take if I was said he was called to New York last year because he was a Heisman Trophy finalist, or for God's sake, if he won it, if he won the Heisman Trophy, then I could say in this free market account, you probably want to demand more NIL money. Remember, this guy was a 5-star player that came out second only to Arch Manning in his class a couple years ago, not to mention the fact that Tennessee, the millions of dollars that they put in, not just the NIL, but also the actual recruiting process of getting him to the University of Tennessee, my guess is probably since his sophomore year in high school. And it just comes off to me, even though I'm out of Nashville, talk a lot of University of Tennessee football, it comes off to me incredibly ungrateful. And it's really hurt his reputation more than anything. But, and like I said, now the rumors are that everybody's wanting to pay him half. My guess is he got half, according to Outkick.com, of what he wanted. And that's what the reports were yesterday. Half of what he's getting, He wanted 4, now he's getting 1. And so he has decided to sign with UCLA, a team that's not even close to playing for a national championship, under a former running back, what's his name? Deshaun Foster, the head coach there, second-year coach, who's already fired his offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, who didn't cut it last year, and they've hired a guy from Indiana named as their offensive coordinator, who does not have that much experience here. Sean, I think his name is Cincinnati or whatnot. He used to be the co-offensive coordinator with the Indiana Hoosiers. So this thing has turned into a total disaster out of just pure greed, out of just pure greed from the family. And we'll see how this thing plays out. Don't want anything bad to happen to the guy, even though this just seems like a despicable thing to do. But as far as improving something like this, like Coach Sean Pollard said on this program a couple weeks ago, you got to put in some kind of salary cap, whether you got to go through Congress to work with the NCAA or these college presidents and whatnot with the college games, since the cat's already out of the bag here, or simply NCAA work with the universities as far as getting some kind of NIL actual contract, because NIL is name, image, and likeness. This is supposed to be, it was designed for, and I said this would be the case. I said we're going to be working out the bugs in this thing when this first happens. We're still in that period. It's been a number of years now, but we're still working out the kinks in the NIL. Try to get some type of protection for the teams, whether it's a 3-year NIL where a player can leave. If a coach gets fired or takes another job, he'll have the option. Or a coach can just simply let the player out of the NIL, say if he gets beat out by another player, and he still get his money and transfer to another school. Something of that nature. You got to have some kind of protections for the organization here. Okay? Now, that's part of the solution. I'll get into that as well, as far as talking to Coach Carroll about it. As far as Tennessee is concerned, listen, I've had my criticisms of Josh Heupel. As far as the offense, I think that's a lame excuse. That's a save your face excuse. But that being said, yeah, Heupel should do some more power running game, put the quarterback under center more, get him. A lot of these coaches in college should do that more. And quite frankly, in the NFL, it gives your running back a little bit more room to run, gives him more ability to get some speed up and whatnot, work on a short passing game, and work on moving the receivers in more and more, have more of a hybrid offense. I saw, though, a lot of that stuff being implemented as not the quarterback under center, but as far as moving receivers in instead of doing that wide offense there, that Baylor-like offense. I saw a little bit of that towards towards the end of the season. I just don't buy that angle. Coach Carroll's back there listening. I just don't buy that angle per se, that's the reason, but that's something I will ask him when I bring him on here in just a minute. As far as I had some interesting, as far as Heupel, you go from a guy like Heupel, and this is from 24/7. His resume goes back quite a few years. Remember, he played on a national championship team as a quarterback with Oklahoma, but he's worked with players like Sam Bradford, Landry Jones, Drew Lock at Missouri, Mackenzie Milton, Dylan Gabriel when he was at UCF. Heupel's turn. This is from 24/7. Virginia Tech castaway Hendon Hooker. Remember to 2022 SEC Offensive Player of the Year, transfer from Michigan, and got him drafted in the NFL. Knowing this guy was not a skilled quarterback, he just had a great arm, but that's all he could do. As far Tennessee does have Jake Merkender on their depth chart here, 4-star second-year player out of Georgia, and of course they've got Fieza and Brandon coming on in the 2026 cycle, number 1 overall player there in the country. So, and plus that'd be another thing I'll bring up to the coach there is, do they have somebody on the transfer portal? I haven't read that in yet, but I'm sure they're in the making of that, of getting another transfer portal type of quarterback per se. So I think they're going to be okay. They're still going to have some doubters. Urban Meyer, never short of taking a shot at Tennessee, saying that Tennessee's screwed right now at the quarterback position. They probably should have tried to keep the guy, but that's Urban Meyer. You got to take that with a grain of salt. Also, so that's basically it in the nutshell. Hopefully something big will come out of this from the college football landscape where they will work out some guardrails with this NIL to get teams some type of protection, or even take it a step farther, even if you got to get Congress involved, and just do a regular salary cap and just pay the players from the university and put them under some type of contract. And like I said earlier, they'll have the ability to leave through being granted by the coach, or simply the coach moves on to another job and whatnot. That would give them an opportunity to transfer, or they simply just get beat out by another quarterback and then ask the coach to grant a transfer. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that per se. I think that's more than fair. But this is one of those other ones. Do another quick take here, then I'll bring the coach in. Schroeder Sanders rumored to be dropping in the draft at one time. Some of the mocks had him going either number 2 or number 3 to Cleveland or the Giants. Then there was saying there could be, I'm reading and hearing that there could be a free fall with Sanders out of Colorado. But now I'm hearing and reading the draft buzz from Schroeder Sanders is that, of course, the Giants came back. That's fact. Had a meeting with him. Mike Tannenbaum, former general manager of ESPN, saying that usually sign that there's some kind of disagreement in the building. Others are saying that maybe, and could be part of it, that they're trying to trigger a potential trade with the Saints, who Derek Carr has got an injury that could be season ending, and they're not in love, with what's that guy's name? Spencer Rattler, their 4th round pick from last year. But we'll see. I got a feeling that there is a little bit of overkill and criticism for the guy. Mel Kiper has him still as a top quarterback, even over Cam Ward. I'm not sure about that per se. He's got the highest completion percentage in the history of college football, but the criticisms are he can't hit these tight window openings, these tight window type of coverage plays. And he did go to a fashion show and missed practice at the beginning of the season. And he's played for his dad his whole life practically. How is he going to handle some kind of adversity? That stuff seems to add up, the off the field stuff. And he's had some bad interviews that supposedly he was specifically tanking so he would not have certain teams draft him. We don't know how much of that is true or not. But on that case, we'll get to that story later. Got a great guest. I'm just so eager to talk to Coach Carroll about this. This stuff with Nico from Tennessee, because it's caused a buzz around the pro football and the college football landscape. But let's have Coach Kevin Carroll. Let's have a round of applause for him first here. Good crowd tonight. Hey, Coach, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm great. Can you hear me okay?
You sound great, brother. You sound great.
Good.
I usually do a sound check, but shoot, you've been on the money here recently, so I just assume that you're going to be everything's going to be everything, and you're good, brother. So,
all right.
Generally speaking, just to start off, what's your thoughts when you first heard about this break? I don't know. What was it, last Wednesday, last Thursday, roughly a week ago?
Yeah, I think it was like
Nico.
Thursday, I believe.
Yes.
No,
yes.
It was Wednesday. It was Wednesday. You're right. It was
okay.
Wednesday. First off, just like when all the news comes down, I don't take it seriously until I see something, because there's always rumors and everything, and I just took it as a rumor at first. I was like, I didn't think Nico's not going anywhere. That was my initial reaction. And then his dad come out and said, Nico loves Tennessee. We're not going anywhere, yada, yada. And then, Friday happens, and I'm like, well, I guess he
missed the practice Friday, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I think that's probably what that slammed the door shut on him, in my opinion. I think the no call, no show and not answering Heupel's calls was probably the deal breaker more than likely.
Okay, so that's what you're hearing, that he wasn't answering Josh Heupel's calls?
Yeah. Heupel had been trying to get a hold of him for, about 24 hours is what I heard. I think that's the time frame. And he wasn't answering the calls, and so Heupel couldn't get a hold of him. So I don't know if that was a planned thing on their part, which probably was. Who's ever advising him told him, cut communication with them. They're going to need you right now, this and that. And me to tell you the whopper and all this.
Yes.
Of course, he wanted more money than he probably should get.
Yes.
But I believe he gets the money if he comes to practice, and then he talks, with the university. He communicates with them, and it's not so much because he was so great last year. It's a combination of how well they believe he'll do in the future and how bad off they'll be if he did leave, which is what has happened. So leaving at the end of spring practice like that put them in a bind. And I believe Heupel just said, we'll roll with it regardless what happens, because had they communicated, I think he gets it, because they didn't want to be in the situation they're in now. Now they're in a situation where they don't have a quarterback now. So, I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I think he could have got the money, or he could have got close to it if he didn't get it. And now he's probably going to get like a third of it, because he had a raise. They gave him a raise in December. He got like 0.5 or 0.4.
Yeah, 2.4, yeah.
Onto that too. And what I'm hearing is UCLA don't want to give him more than $1 million. That's what I'm hearing. So,
and he's going to UCLA now, right?
Yeah. I just heard today he committed to UCLA here within the last couple hours, or 3-4 hours, something like that. But he's lost more than half of what he was going to get at Tennessee, even if he didn't get more money. So, and he's in a worse situation. You already talked about that. I mean,
yeah,
it's, they didn't do him any favors. He should have. He's a young man. That's the culture of their family. The dad makes the calls. I understand and respect all that, but at the end of the day, I think they really they didn't do him any favors this time. It kind of really messed him up because people aren't interested in him not because he's not talented. They're not interested in him because they don't want the baggage that comes with him, and and most of the baggage ain't even him. I've heard him in interviews. He's low, like a soft-spoken, very respectable. He seems like a really good kid, and I hate that this happened to him, because he's listening to his father more than likely, and it's just a bad situation for Nico because I honestly believe he was going to be really good moving forward with Tennessee, and he has everything. And I don't know if you've heard this. If you've heard this, let me know. Part of the problem was the offense Tennessee ran. Did you hear anything about that?
Yes. Okay. So
yeah,
I would comment on that. That story comes out, and I've been reading all this stuff off the X app from different reporters, ESPN, Fox, and whatnot. I heard something on yesterday. Joe Klatt mentioned that, who calls the games for Fox. How come that's just now coming out 72 hours, maybe a little bit after that? The fact that they hollered and screamed money, money, money. My opinion of that, Kevin, is they're looking at all the bad PR he's getting, and then all of a sudden, now the offense is the problem. I don't know if I buy that.
That's where I'm going, but that's not that's a little bit different context. Is before all this talking about it's this and not the money thing. They talked to Coach Heupel, apparently, offensive guru. He got where he is because of his offensive philosophy and everything like that.
Yeah.
They said, they didn't like his. They wanted this in a contract. Apparently, they didn't believe that offense was going to prepare him for the NFL, and they wanted him to change his offense specifically for Nico, and make it more of a pro style. Well, newsflash, we haven't seen Heupel's offense since Hendon Hooker was there. I'm going to be honest. It hasn't been Heupel's offense since Hendon Hooker's been there. So they ran more of it was, if you look at it last year, it was really more of a pro style offense last year than, Heupel traditionally runs. Now, he runs the ball a lot, but they depended on the run a lot more last year than they had the previous 2 years. So, I mean, the running game was there. The play action passes, he should have hit on more of them. I don't think he played as bad as a lot of people say he did, but he didn't light the world up, and we all know that.
Yeah,
now,
I got his numbers right here.
Yeah. I do believe he has the tools to where he could have been a lot better moving forward, and I think this offseason was going to be real good for him. But holding the team up like that right there at the spring, which is a crucial time, and all of that is just basically did it for him. And like I said, I hate it for the kid. I wish him all the best. I hope he finds a way to be successful moving forward with UCLA, but it's made it very difficult, honestly, and it's cost them money. So
I mean, aren't you a little annoyed with this? I mean,
very annoyed. This is the thing I don't like about NIL. If you're in a contract, then you got to honor that contract, and it can't be an open-end contract where I make a contract, today, and then tomorrow somebody offers me X amount, and then I'm freaking say, okay, I'm going to take this one instead of this. No. Once you sign it, you've got to be committed for at least 2 years. Which, to be fair, he was there 2 years, but he didn't do anything his first year. He didn't start. He didn't play.
13 games.
So, I mean, it's horrible. They need more structure, the NIL. We've all agreed on that. And hopefully, eventually, that will happen. It's a good thing Coach Heupel put his foot down, because then everybody will start doing this. And it seems like every other big program is on board. They're like, no, we don't.
Are you surprised that Oregon and Carolina, USC didn't bite? And I thought he could get an upgrade if he went to Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
But he didn't go to Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, I mean,
are you surprised that they did stick their foot down the way they did?
Yeah, I thought Well, I know he's talented as he is, but I'm not so much surprised simply because of the baggage that's coming with him. I fully understand every one of their positions. They're like, he's going to play 1 year, then he's going to want another. He's going to want more money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we're only going to get him 1 year. That's what they're thinking. I think he's probably going to be at UCLA for 2 years now, just because I don't think he's going to have the opportunity to build his resume up enough for the NFL in one season with UCLA. Talent-wise, he is absolutely talented enough to be an NFL quarterback.
Yes.
But the stuff that just happened this week, or last week coming into this week, it puts a damper on that. The NFL looks at that kind of stuff, and I mean, it's just it's unfortunate for him that all this has happened. And now, don't get me wrong, if he comes out this season and plays lights out and under the old Pac-12 competition, he probably would have had an opportunity to do that. But they're in the Big Ten now, and it's not going to happen. They're not going to do well.
Well,
in the
Deshaun
Big
Foster
Ten.
just fired Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
And they brought in this other guy from Indiana as their offensive coordinator. This is going to be a huge step back, if you ask me.
It is. They are going to struggle tremendously. I mean, and Tennessee completely revamped that O-line. I actually think they are better on the O-line talent-wise. It's going to take some time to build chemistry and get the cohesion and everything good on that line. But once they get it going, once they get everything in and the chemistry's there, I believe it's going to be a better O-line than what we had in the past. So, I mean, they put together an O-line for him. The receivers coming in are unproven, but very talented. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is a more talented team than the one we had last year.
Are you serious?
It's a more talented team than the one they had the year before.
Raekwon Thornton, Dylan Sampson, more talented than those guys.
Because they recruited well. The guys coming in are very talented. They're higher rated coming out of high school than all these other guys that just left. And that's a good thing for Tennessee fans because they developed lower level players into these guys who are stars. They're just like you just answered that question. You mean to tell me they're better than blah, blah, Sampson and yada? Yes. Okay. Like if you're going off of ratings and coming out of high school and how good of recruits they were, yes, they are supposed to be better. But it goes back to development. They are developing their players, and we wasn't used to this with
Palmer, or the other coaches, any of the other coaches.
Butch Jones, Dooley,
especially
Pruitt.
Butch Jones.
Yeah, Pruitt. They would bring in good players. They wouldn't develop them very well. Well, Heupel and his staff are developing them, and these guys, they were 3 stars. Some of them even 2 stars are coming in, and they're leaving the university and have a shot to go to the NFL because they were developed. And the guys coming up are more talented. So in theory, we should be better around the quarterback. So that's a good thing in that we need these receivers to step up and we need them to play well. But they're more talented than the ones we had last year, I believe.
Okay.
They're less experienced and we don't know what we got yet. But Mike Matthews.
You heard about another transfer coming into Tennessee?
I heard they're working on getting a receiver, and of course they're working on quarterback. I did my research for the show. I got the guys that they're looking at. I got the guys.
What about the quarterback side? I couldn't see
the quarterbacks. The ones I'm talking about. I did my research. I've got the 4 that I'm hearing. I've got their stats. I've got everything. I got it on my desktop. So I don't know if you've heard of any of it, but we've got number 1, Sam Levitt out of Arizona State. Number 2, Rocco Beck out of Iowa State. Avery Johnson out of Kansas State, and then Sawyer Robertson out of Baylor. Robertson isn't really very mobile, so he's not necessarily he's probably the least on the list because he's a good passer, decent passer, but he's not not very mobile. And we kind of need a mobile quarterback. The other 3 can all run. The other 3 are mobile quarterbacks, and they can pass.
Was it Arizona State? Did he play for Arizona last year? Was he starting?
Yes, he was a starter. He was a starter last year
in their playoff game.
Yes, that's the one that he played really well.
Okay.
Yeah, he probably be ideal, him or Rocco. And what I heard today, Tennessee had their private jet in Tampa, Florida, where Rocco Beck lives, the Iowa State quarterback. So now you take from that what you will, but that was the word. So Rocco might be the one that they're interested in. But this is what I think is going to happen. I don't think they're going to chase anybody. They're going to add a quarterback to the portal no matter what, whether he's just a depth piece or if he's someone who can come in and potentially be the starter. So what I think is the ones that, because being quarterback at Tennessee right now, playing for Heupel, is an attractive spot for a college quarterback.
Yeah.
So they're banking on that. The ones interested are going to contact them. So maybe Rocco's people contacted them, said, hey, we might be interested. And they've got money right now that they can put on a quarterback, which he more than likely isn't making at Iowa State. Levitt more than likely isn't making at Arizona State, so on and so forth. They're probably not making that at the schools they're at. So, it's a potential they can come in for a year or two and play quarterback at Tennessee.
What Miami did, and we saw what Ohio State did last year with transfer quarterbacks.
Right. So, yeah, it's a big possibility that
this could be a huge blessing in disguise for Tennessee.
It could be, because these guys are proven. Like, they've all got good stats. They've all passed for 2,500 to 3,500 yards, in the 20s on touchdowns. I don't think any of them had double-digit interceptions. And the only thing I didn't like was 3 out of the 4 are like, it's like 56% completion percentage, 57, 58. Okay. And then Levitt from Arizona State, he had like 63%. So that's not bad. Wow. Yeah, that's not bad. He'd be the one I would hope they could get. But if they don't, I don't think it's the end of the world. We throw a lot of high percentage stuff. So whoever comes in, it could just be the system they ran. They could improve their percentage. You never know. So, we got some guys. They got some guys that are being talked about, or a possibility in the transfer portal. The best thing out of all this mess, though, with Nico, is that there wasn't a ripple effect from what I've seen yet. There's not.
Oh, you're saying other players,
Tennessee players transferring. That was my biggest fear. I was like, wow, okay. I hope all these guys don't freaking jump in the transfer portal because Nico did. It sounds to me like they got a lot of cohesion, team chemistry between each other, and they like playing for one another. You should check out the Kisselman, Merklinger, and George McIntyre and Arian Carter interview. They did like a post.
Merklinger is a 4-star guy out of Georgia. Yeah. I mean, he's a red shirt friend. I wonder if he could just win the job,
I think he's talented. He's a talented guy. He's got a good arm on him. I think he could do it. I think he could come in and play. I don't know how good Tennessee can be with Merklinger. You got Jared Stillman in Nashville saying he's a backup quarterback in the SEC. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, he hasn't got his opportunity because he's playing out of his rear end. Yeah, he does. He's so full of crap. Yeah. But Merklinger, to me, I think has the potential to do it. But they're not going to tell a guy who's an experienced starter no if he wants to come to Tennessee. And I don't think they're going to give anybody the job, though. Even if they get Rocco or they get Levitt, they're going to come in there and they're going to have to earn the starting position. I mean, it's not going to be given to them.
Do you think Heupel was bullheaded about his offense, or do you think that's just nonsense that Nico basically made that up?
I'm not so sure. I don't know. I don't think even if it's not made up, I don't view Heupel as being a bullheaded. He's the coach. He's the coach. His philosophy is what has gotten him where he is right now. Yeah. He should never have to change or ponder to a kid who's playing for his system. You decided to go there. You knew what they ran. Yeah. Just because you tried it one year and you didn't blow the world up like you wanted to, doesn't mean the system don't work. It just means you needed more experience in the system. It took Hendon Hooker a couple years before he really started clicking. But once he started clicking, I mean, the rest is history. I mean, he just wore it out. So, I believe Nico could have been better than Hendon Hooker. I still stand by that. I think he could have been better. It's
just a monumental mistake by this.
It is.
You know?
They played those cards absolutely wrong. They could not be more wrong in how they played those cards. And
do you think that there's some insecurity there with his dad saying, maybe we just get all the money now, because Nico, he does kind of look mechanical, slow, kind of a big guy, lanky guy. Maybe we just milk it much as we can now, because the NFL career might not really lead out to what we thought. Because this comes off as insecure to me, man.
it might be on behalf of his dad, but I don't think that's the case at all. I think he's plenty physically talented to be an NFL quarterback. His physical skills are off the chart, and I think he's very smart too.
Don't you think he's a little too tall though? So at times, I mean, Trevor Lawrence struggling in NFL.
Yeah, but
third head coach, man.
I don't think he's really. I know people compare him to Trevor Lawrence because of his height. I don't think he's really really Trevor Lawrence though. I think he's even more physically talented than Trevor Lawrence in my opinion.
Yeah.
When it comes to throwing the ball and accuracy and stuff like that, he's really off the charts.
Yeah.
Some of it is just in his head. He gets in his head what he did last season. He's a redshirt freshman starting his first season. I mean, I expected those things. Yeah. I did expect him to have better numbers. Don't get me wrong. But,
me too. Yeah.
But at the same time, I just chalked it up. It's going to take a little longer than I thought it was, and I think he would have been better this year. How much better, we'll never know. But, it sucks. I mean, if he'd have left the door open, he might have been able to come back. But
I didn't catch that he was blowing off Heupel.
Yeah, the no call, no show, not answering your phone. I mean,
just the millions they invested just recruiting him, not actually the NIL money.
Yeah,
the money. I mean, it just feels like a huge slap in the face, man.
When I heard he got $8 million, like before he even got to Tennessee,
right?
I'm sitting here thinking we got this guy for 3 years, no matter what. I was like, we got that nailed down. I
think it'd be humble and grateful for that opportunity.
I'm sitting here like, there's no way this kid's leaving us, giving him that much money, and I was just shocked when I heard he left. I was like, man, I'm all for paying the players. I'm not for this. This is just ridiculous. It's not fun for the fans. You can't get attached to a player. And what's the good thing about college football? You got a player, you can follow this kid for the next 3 years or at least 3 years usually. I'm okay with giving them one transfer, but after that, dude, you're that's where you're at. We're teaching them that they're not accountable at all for their decisions.
Right.
It's what we're teaching them. I'm saying I'm old school. I wasn't crazy about the paying the players, but I understand it. It. The schools make millions of dollars.
And it's
sure
the
they
TV
should
money's
get something.
getting crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and getting the millions that they're getting is all well and good, but in my opinion, it shouldn't have started out that way. If it progressed to that, then okay. But from the get-go, getting the millions, no, they should have started out lower and then let it progress. Let the market value do its thing. But no, they jump out right away. And hey, Tennessee's guilty. They're the ones that started it. I mean, but here we are.
But I knew this would come. I knew it would come to this. I just thought maybe the NCAA and even particular, hey, if you got to get Congress involved, put the particular guardrails. You got to check the school at some point.
Yeah.
It can't just be, hey, give me some money. I'll be here today or maybe tomorrow. I mean, that's
right.
Just, yeah.
And how Heupel handled this is basically has set the tone for how this is going to go now.
Yeah.
Had they caved and just paid him, then this would be something that happened a lot more.
It could happen to the next player.
The fact that Heupel put his foot down and every other coach in these big programs immediately said, we're not interested, that set the tone right there. Or that tells everybody, hey, you're not going to do this to us.
Kudos to Dan Lanning in Oregon. And,
good for them.
Ohio State didn't say nothing. Michigan didn't say nothing.
Yep.
You know, so hey, what's your thoughts about Schroeder Sanders? He's all over the place, man, as far as drafting. Do you believe the criticisms to be true? Can't make throws in small windows. These are from some general managers and scouts that I've heard of. And, you know, he did blow off practice for a fashion show. He's always played under his dad. What do you think about those criticisms?
I watched him
see
play
dropping,
myself.
man?
I watched him play myself. I know what he can do. I don't care what they say.
Yeah.
To me, there's a bunch of talking heads because they have a job.
Yeah.
And this is how they make their money. And they're going to say stuff that's going to get them, you know, basically screen time.
Yeah.
And I believe Shedeur has a pretty good chance of being the best quarterback in this draft. And that includes Cam Ward. I believe Cam Ward is more talented. He has a bigger arm.
Yes.
He's probably better as far as athlete-wise. He's a better athlete physically. But you know what? So is Anthony Richardson.
Right. Good point.
So, I mean, he's more accurate. He's faster up here when it comes to reading defenses.
The processor. That's
Better,
what I said his pros are.
He's better at processing. Yeah. Going progression to progression. He's not running around, you know, just trying to do stuff, ab-libbing it. Like, you know, people like to compare Cam Ward to Patrick Mahomes being able to ab-lib.
Yeah.
He is not Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
And when he gets to the NFL, he's not going to ab-lib like he did in college. It's different. It's just a different thing, different game. Patrick Mahomes is beyond the most talented guy in the NFL at quarterback, and he's got it upstairs as well. You're lucky if you ever find that.
How far do you think that where do you think Sanders will fall, in your opinion, from what you see?
What I'm hearing is the Giants are very interested in him.
Okay.
So they also, the Giants are very interested in him. And, you know, you mentioned him being coached by his dad,
yes,
you know, all his life. Did you know that Tom Brady has been tutoring him for years, basically?
Yeah, so that was my mock. I have not put it out there yet, but I think that the Raiders could take him at 6. Some are saying that the Giants are looking at possibly that they're real high on maybe Abdul Carter, but they've got that early second-round pick. They can move back into the first,
right?
You know, and also they can dangle that third overall pick to get a Saints to trade up because the Saints have an issue with Derek Carr, who may miss the whole season. So do you see that angle?
Yeah, possibly. The whole Tom Brady thing with Shedeur, to me, though, is I think that just goes to credibility. You know, I think that gives him more credibility to be under the tutelage of Tom Brady. His dad being who he is, he's going to make sure he's got the best minds around him. You know, he's going to make sure he gets the best training, all this kind of stuff. Now, is he a little, you know, pampered? Of course he is. He's Deion Sanders' kid, you know.
Yes.
He's brash. He's cocky. I just kind of I don't think that people need to compartmentalize this stuff. Like, I can separate that from the field. I think when he's on the field, he's a football player and he's there to win. And he's extremely confident in himself. I don't agree with him holding on to the ball too long and all this stuff. He played behind a horrible offensive line and, you know, stuff like that. I think they're taking it out of context to make a story, you know, and I'm not even a big Shedeur fan, but if I'm taking a quarterback this year, he'd be the one I want because of what he's got up here, you know, and I'm Titans fan through and through. If they pick Cam Ward, I'm all in. I'm not going to be one of these people on Facebook. I'm never watching the Titans game again. I'm not going to do that. I mean, if they pick him, I'm all for him. I hope to God I'm wrong and that he is the guy and he's the guy that all right, one question real quick.
Yeah.
If Jeremiah Smith was coming out in this draft, if he was eligible to come into this draft, would you want to take Cam Ward or would you take Jeremiah Smith?
Oh, I'd take the quarterback. Or I may take.
You didn't hear what I said.
Go
I
ahead.
said Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver out of Ohio State.
A wide receiver?
The
Because it's a
wide
wide receiver.
receiver out of Ohio State. Now, if you think Cam Ward is the guy, no questions asked, sure, you take him.
Yeah.
Do you think Jeremiah Smith? Now, are you more sure Jeremiah Smith is going to be a stud in the NFL, or are you sure that Cam Ward is that guy at number one?
There's no way I take. Remember the Jets took Keyshawn Johnson number one.
Different.
I like Jeremiah Smith, but
he is the best player in college football.
Yes.
Last season.
Yes.
He's the best this season. Look, this kid, if he come out this year, I think he would be number one. He'd be the number one pick. I wouldn't pick anybody but him. You know why? Because he is the most sure thing in the NFL. Receivers, they're easy. You can tell when a receiver is really good. I mean, and
people were saying that about Harrison last year.
And Harrison ain't bad, but he's not as good as a Jeremiah Smith.
No, this guy's like T.O. kind of.
Yeah. He's 225 pounds, and I didn't even realize he was that big because of how fast and agile he is. He is the real deal. This is the best receiver, like, the man among boys thing.
Yeah.
You can tell, okay, this guy's different. I haven't seen this kind of difference since Randy Moss at Marshall. I remember seeing him at Marshall and thinking this dude's going to be a beast in the NFL.
Remember we said that about Calvin Johnson, and they didn't do that much with him.
Calvin Johnson was good. I'm
going to talk about winning big,
Yeah, but lousy organization. Offensively, they actually were good. They weren't good defensively.
I love receivers, but I just don't put them in that high regard. I do, but not. I'd rather gamble. What if you gamble with the quarterback and you have Jalen? Cam Ward's numbers are very similar to Jaden Daniels his last year, other than the rushing touchdowns.
Every quarterback at Texas Tech for the last 10 years numbers are similar too.
To Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. I'm just saying,
But Cam Ward's.
I don't put that much. Yeah, I don't put that much stock in the college stats. The only one, and Joe Burrow. Remember how accurate he was, and he wasn't just throwing these little quick he was throwing it down the field, and he was making fast decisions. Even though he had Jefferson and
Chase
on each side, which is a big advantage, he was hitting them quick. I'm sitting there like he's going to be a good NFL quarterback because how fast he made decisions and how accurate he was. And that's I just don't get that with Cam Ward. I think his ab-living and being able to keep plays alive, it jacked his stats up.
That may come back and bite him.
I that's why I don't like him. That's why I don't like him at number one because I think.
Would you trade down and maybe try to get Sanders at 3 if the Giants came up?
If possible, yeah, I would do that. If possible. I heard today, this is what I'm hearing. The Saints are freaking dead set, love freaking Cam Ward, and there's a chance that they're going to freaking offer the house to get him. So
if that happens, I would take it.
Me too.
Yeah,
absolutely. They'd have to move down, but they got so many positions that they need to work on that, I mean, if the Saints offer them the house and they get their number one next year, I think they're going to have a rookie quarterback if they do, because they're going to get Ward. And then they're probably going to have a top 10 pick again next year. And, so you got a top 10 pick, and we're probably going to have a top 10 pick too. So that's 2 top 10 picks. If we need to move up to the first to get whoever, then we can do that. Now, if for somehow we traded with the Saints and Shedeur did slip down there, I'd jump all over him. But I'm not so sure he's going to last that long. But if he did, then
that's why I say New York. I don't know if anybody's going to go up to 2 to get Schroeder. Do you?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. See, because it's when it comes to quarterbacks, teams, they get stupid. They make dumb decisions when it comes to quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But now in this instance, I think Shedeur would not be a bad choice. But at that high, that's what's got me not fully on board with Ward either. I don't think either one of them are top 5 worthy. Now, could they go on to have careers that say they are? Sure, they could.
Did you think that Jaden Daniels would be? I mean, I did not think he'd be this good, though.
I thought Jaden Daniels would probably be the best quarterback in that draft. I didn't think he'd be as good as he was. I wasn't big on Drake May. Caleb Williams, I was like, I think all this hype is just
it goes off script, and he played under Lincoln
unwarranted.
Riley.
Yeah. I mean, now could he be? I mean, I want to see Jaden Daniels do it again. I mean,
yeah,
that's the big thing for quarterbacks is the consistency. Let's see him do it again. And Washington, to their credit, are making good moves. I mean, they're putting good things around Jaden Daniels. And
but don't you like what the coach said about Cam Ward in his interviews?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I think he's got
a high football acumen, you know.
Yeah, he's a character guy. He's going to be all for your team, you know. But I mean, that doesn't guarantee that he's going to be able to do it. I mean, I hope I'm wrong because I think they're going to end up.
But didn't you think that Bo Nix was? I thought Bo Nix was horrible at one time.
He was horrible at Auburn. Then he went to Oregon.
I thought he was just okay at Oregon at times. You know, a lot of that was system, great players around him.
Yeah, you know? But maybe sometimes those systems are what brings out parts of the quarterback that they didn't realize they had. I mean,
that's what I think with Cam Ward, though. That's my point. I think I think they really look at that interview process and says,
I would almost
exactly every mistake he made. But I'm telling you this because the Giants, when we watched I don't know if you've seen it, but the what is it? The Hard Knocks, the Giants general manager thing. When they was bringing in Jaden Daniels, that Brian DeBall was like, okay, what about this and this, and Daniels is like, blah 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 blah. And I'm kind of getting the sense that the Titans we're getting that from Cam Ward.
Maybe they will. Maybe they will. But my problem with Ward is that a lot of his success is off script. I'd feel better about
Caleb Williams' mistakes.
Yes, I'd feel better about Ward if most of his stuff came within the system. Like he dropped back and he didn't have the ball that long. He got rid of it. He found his guy, and all this.
It could be a bust. You're right, man.
I hope I'm wrong. Because I'm ready for the Titans to turn it around.
2 years. You got Lagway will probably be available from Florida. And then you got probably Arch Manning. I don't think Arch Manning. Do you think Arch Manning's coming out next year with 1 year?
Hey, if we've got 2 top 10 picks, I sure hope so.
Well, I'm just saying, if they draft Ward and they don't get I want the King's ransom method and just go with the Eagle. But if it doesn't happen, they tank Ward. I'm not going to just. I think there's a possibility he could hit. But if he don't hit in 27, don't you think he'd be on a shorter leash? By the way. With all the experience, his age, if he's not doing nothing after 2 seasons, I think it would be time to move on from. If he looks like Will Levis after 2 seasons,
the NFL we have today, you don't get that much time. Like if you get more than,
do you think
2,
they would pull the plug on him after 2 seasons if he looks like Will Levis?
Yeah, if he looks like Will Levis, he'll be gone. I mean,
okay.
If
that's
he looks
my point.
like,
I mean, did you get another quarterback at 27?
He looks like Anthony Richardson. He's gone. I mean.
Oh, I'm sure they're thinking about maybe getting a quarterback. Yeah.
So I mean.
I think he's a way better prospect than Anthony Richardson.
I mean, he might be. I mean, Anthony Richardson physically is supposed to be like the guy, and I'm not so impressed by stats in college, but when a quarterback doesn't have great stats in college, that's a big red flag for me. Anthony Richardson
looked horrible in Kentucky at times.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson. I didn't want Levis. I mean, when we got him, is like I said, I was all on board. I was like, I hope I'm wrong about this guy.
They see something we don't, right?
But yeah, Richardson in college, he was around 55% completion percentage. I mean, he wasn't that good a quarterback at Florida. He pulled some stuff out of his hat because he was such a good athlete. And I'm like, athletes and quarterbacks are 2 separate things. I mean, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hey, it's fun time of the year though. I'm looking forward to the draft next week. I mean,
we'll see what happens, man.
Uh,
I'm like you. Honestly, if they get the ransom, take the ransom.
Yeah, for real, for sure.
But, yeah.
But if we get him, like I said,
taking Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter.
The only thing about it, if Abdul Carter, if he's healthy, I'm 100% Abdul Carter. But it's hard to know about his foot, because as an edge rusher, that's an important thing. He needs to be able to push off on his foot, and he needs to be able to do those things. And he didn't work out. He didn't do his pro day. He's still healing, and all that. If I knew for 100% that he was going to be 100% healthy, come training camp, didn't have to miss any time, I'd be 100% on board, because I do think he's the most talented player in this draft. Yeah, by far. Just like next year, Jeremiah Smith. Well, he might not even come out. I mean, he might not come out.
I think he would. No, he'd be a sophomore, right?
Yeah.
So
he'll need one more year. So 27. Yeah. If we're still sucking by then,
27, you have Lagway. I think Lagway is really that good from Florida. If he keeps progressing.
Look, Florida, we got a lot of snake oil at the end of that season. Look, that coach still ain't it, and I'm glad it happened.
Because he's a Florida quarterback, or you're just saying that?
No. I'm talking about the coach. Coach. It's snake oil. And I haven't seen enough from Lagway to say he's that good yet. I don't know if he's that good yet. Let's see what he does next year, because I think Florida's going to be bad again next year. I do.
Oh, I know that I would pick Florida over Tennessee in a minute next year.
Right now, because they just lost their quarterback.
That's what Urban Meyer said too, by the way.
But let's see what happens with if I see anything out of Merklinger and or McIntyre or somebody they bring in, then I'm all Tennessee, because I think they're better everywhere else.
I think Tennessee, honestly, if you ask me, they're 2 or 3 defensive tackles away from being a legit national championship contender.
Yeah, and that's also what they're trying to go for in the portal as well. They're trying to get
need meat tackles in the middle,
Yeah.
So. All right, man. Hey, I'll bring you on after the draft and get your see what you think, buddy.
Sure, sounds fun, man. Anytime. I
appreciate you coming on. Thanks for the homework there, brother. With the I'll keep up with those quarterbacks.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Portal. Yeah. Hopefully we get one. I'm thinking the most likely would be Rocco Beck out of Iowa State, but I'm hoping.
Well, maybe he is the better player than the Arizona State guy.
He might be. He had. Oh, you got a second.
Yeah.
Let me pull up his stats real quick.
Because talking about the Arizona State guy, remember that running back for Arizona State was a beast.
Yeah.
Maybe they leaned a lot on him, Stataboo, whatever.
Yes, sir. Okay, Rocco, he was 59% completion percentage, which isn't horrible.
But it's not great.
And he had 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
That's not bad.
And then he rushed for how many yards? He rushed for like 400 or 500 yards.
He sounds like Will Howard. Well, they won a championship.
Yeah. So he rushed for like 400 yards and another 8 touchdowns.
He might be the best one then.
Possibly, yeah. Levitt, he's 2,800 yards, almost 25 or 29, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He was 61.7%.
Who's Levitt, from Arizona?
Arizona State.
But he might be the one then.
Yeah, he looks. He's mobile too. I don't think he's quite as mobile as Rocco, but he's a better passer. So
Rocco's Modern Life. Remember that cartoon?
Yeah. Hey, that name though, man. Hey, Rocco Beck. Come on now.
That sounds like a winner.
Yeah.
Coach Carroll, everybody. Hold on. Thanks, buddy. I'll see you, man. All right, everybody. I hope to have I'll probably replay this one tomorrow and have the Mad New Yorker on Friday. We'll probably record something, bring it on. Either way, stay tuned. Next week, I will be back here live, guarantee, giving you my top 10 mock draft here, everybody. So have a good night. I'll see you. Otherwise, same time, same place here on the Real Sports Scope.
Network.